So, hello, fellow Earthlings. This is Earthling 6455463728, and this piece is about why I am not going to be a vegan or even a vegetarian. Yeah, that's what it's going to be about. As usual, I am Earthling, yada yada yada. I have a couple of degrees. I've traveled a bit. I was in the Army Reserves for a period, and I take care of my uncle who has dementia. So this piece is inspired, and I think I'm going to use the inspiration of people who comment on my videos as possible topics. I don't know that it will always work, but hey, maybe, we'll see. Anyway, I did a piece on why I'm going to be consuming a lot of cheese, and I was kind of like, in passing, I'm like, I'm sorry, Peter, because, I understand that it's bad for animals and so on, but I'm still going to do it because I didn't go into the because it's a 60-second short, and it doesn't have time for that. But in talking to someone who was saying, well, there are alternatives. This is Abat de Ciel. I think that's below the sky. Is that in French? Anyway, he was saying, well, no, it's a moral thing to do. And in your piece, you're saying that you wish that there were alternatives. So there are alternatives. And I'm like, yeah, but it's 60 seconds. And I'm not going to do an essay in a 60-second short. But anyway, I guess Mr. Abat de Ciel really thinks that I really, really, really love animals to the extent where I just stop eating meat and anything like that, like fish, eggs, the whole 9 yards. Let me see. Well, I killed a chicken by accident when I was a kid, and that was really sad. I played with little lizards, and I played too much, like maybe I would put them in water. I didn't intend to drown them, but that wasn't a good thing. I don't feel too good about that. I feel bad when I see people mistreat their dogs, and I would really like to step in and intervene, but I'm not going to. I've seen like stray cats and so on in the area, and I'd really like to take them in and protect them, but I'm not going to do that, and I've never done it. I mean, my family didn't really have pets and so on. Actually, we did have rabbits, and I did eat the rabbits. So it was kind of weird to be eating these rabbits that I knew with these odd bones in them. I think I'm like many other people, which is that I don't envision these screaming rabbits, because rabbits actually scream. If a rabbit is running around and you actually lay hands on it and you grab it, they're going to scream, 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 scream. It really is surprising. You don't think a rabbit makes a noise, but it does. Anyway, on the whole, though, I don't like the idea of anybody else. I don't think anybody else likes the idea either. And Peter has been showing me these ads of some little piglet that is just shuddering its way to death, and it's not pleasant to look at. Honestly, if there was a way, like, to have eat meat that tasted exactly like meat, but it wasn't meat, I would be fine with that. I'm not fighting to have meat for the sake of killing meat. No, this has to be a dead animal that suffered. No, I'm not interested in that. And to be honest, I don't know when last I ate any chicken. It's probably a couple weeks since I've eaten chicken. It's probably been a couple of weeks, no, years since I've had any beef, pork. I have no idea. The most recent animal that I had was chicken, maybe some fish, like tuna or something like that. Yeah, so I'm not. Most of my days have been fruit, and no meat whatsoever, just staples and beans and stuff like that. So I'm not really eating anything that is from a factory farm except for this cheese, that I realized that, hey, based on how much calcium is in all of these different things that I eat, it doesn't look like I'm getting the 1,000 milligrams that I'm supposed to be getting. So cheese seems like it's a great source, so I think I'm going to eat cheese. Well, hi commenter, yeah, I've started eating cheese because I realize I have a problem with my bones. And as I was telling you, everything else seems either bulky, that I'm going to have to eat a lot of it, and you haven't said no, that's not the case, or I have to put out a bunch more extra money to get some exotic thing, or I have to eat a whole bunch more beans, I have to eat a bunch more kale, or whatever else it is that has this extra calcium that I want to get. And nobody is going to say, hey, here's an extra 20 every week to buy, this stuff that costs more. And nobody's actually asking me, like, well, how much money do you make? Because it ain't that much. I'm taking care of my uncle who has dementia. If anybody knows anything about healthcare, I'm not getting anywhere close to anything that I probably should be making. The main reason that I can get by is because I don't have to pay rent, and because I don't go anywhere, and I don't have kids, and I don't have a wife. I would not be able to get by with a wife and kids and mortgage and car payment and all of that stuff on what I'm making now. And yeah, if it's a really important thing, I should probably just go ahead and fork out the extra money and deal with the extra gas and bloating that comes from eating a whole bunch of beans and a whole bunch of kale. But to be honest, I don't even know if actually being vegan is going to reduce my footprint in the world. I don't know how beans are manufactured. I don't know how any of these things are manufactured. And you immediately are going to jump in and you're going to say, well, yeah, but they have to grow extra stuff to feed the cows and to feed the sheep and to feed the whatever it is. So whatever it is that you think that, there's extra land space that you need in order to get your calcium and get whatever else it is that you need, it's going to be even more than that for a cow to produce milk that's going to give you the cheese that you need. Well, at this point, I'm going to pull out what I saw in a recent video, which is that cows are not eating that much wheat. They're eating corn husks, they're eating grass, they're eating a lot of waste stuff that humans would not eat. That's what cows are eating. So like, for example, I don't know, beans, a bean plant, they take the beans off, they give them to me, and they give the rest of the plant to the cow. So it's not a situation where, oh, well, they have to grow, 10 times as much wheat and feed it to the cow, and you would have just been able to get by just with, the one plot. It's not like that at all. The fact is that the cows are eating stuff that we wouldn't ordinarily eat, that would just go into compost or something. But anyway, I wanted to raise a couple of points, and maybe I've scared off enough people with this, but I look at other people and I realize, hey, they're not perfect. I'm not going to make them perfect. They can't be perfect. And I also realize, hey, you do what you think that you should in order to reduce the footprint that you have. And that's enough. You don't have to take it to the 100th order and swear off meat and cheese and pork, and I don't have to do that. And other people, they're allowed to be human, and I am allowed to be human as well, and I don't have to jump through a whole bunch of hoops to prove that I am some kind of saintly figure and make sure that I am absolutely perfect. You know, it reminds me of this scene in Scott So and So Battles the World. Remember a while ago there was this movie where this guy wanted to get with a girl, and it's like a comedy kind of fantasy movie where he has to fight each of her seven partners. One of them is a girl, and one of the people that he has to fight is this vegan who has like superpowers because he's a vegan. But in the middle of the fight, he discovers and tells the vegan, hey, something like, hey, didn't you order the blah blah blah? That actually is animal based. So that isn't vegan. That means you're not a vegan anymore. And the guy like comes to the realization, and it's like he gets a Super Mario power down kind of thing. And now Scott, whatever his name, can beat him up. Because in order to be vegan, you have to adhere to this strict thing where you don't use leather, you don't touch leather, you don't anything to do remotely close to being exploitative of animals, like honey. You can't consume honey because that's stolen from bees. But it seems like that goes to, can you even receive a COVID vaccine that has been tested on animals? Are you allowed to, as a vegan, to accept a COVID vaccine? Or for example, those horseshoe crabs that they milk of their blood. Apparently they use those things, the blood extracts, in tests for all sorts of stuff. Are you anywhere, do you benefit off of that horseshoe blood in any way, shape, or form? Or for example, the idea that you're not going to use any leather. If it is that you decide, okay, well, instead of leather, I'm going to use something that's plastic. Okay, so now you're supporting plastic. And as a result of that, it means that any oil spills that occur because of the transportation and the processing of oil, you're privy to that. So, like when that oil spill occurred and all those dolphins and whatever were killed, in order to avoid using leather, now leather from animals that were dead anyway because they were part of the factory farming system, now we are responsible for plastic waste that's going to end up in the guts of all of these marine animals. So it's like we try in one way to avoid hurting the animals in one aspect, but then we still end up to me it's kind of like there's a fight to try to help animals. But you know what would be the best thing? If there weren't any human beings whatsoever. So am I really, honestly, I should not reproduce, which I haven't anyway, so that's great. And I have no plans to, so that's great as well. And I should try to plan my demise as early as possible. Really, because my footprint and the bad things, basically, they happen because I exist. The earth was never meant to support 7, almost 8 billion human beings who want to take plane trips to Jamaica or go to Bali, or who want, electric cars, or who want ice cars, or who want to go on cruises. The earth wasn't meant for that. But every single day that more of us are born, we are making the planet a worse place. So we should just kill ourselves. Well, I'm not gonna actually kill myself. And I figure I do more than enough to already mitigate the footprint that I have. I don't know if more than enough is actually the right word, but this is part of what my thought process is. I watched a video from DW, this German channel, and they showed you the life of people who harvest rubber for car tires. And when I saw these people who would probably never own a car in their lives. Their kids would never own a car. They would never leave their country, far less their village, in their lifetime. Working for 12-hour shifts in the middle of the night or on Sundays or weekends, I was like, oh my God. Oh my God, I don't even want to take another plane trip to go anywhere because of what these people are being exploited, and the land is being exploited by having these huge farms of rubber. And here it is, I just go and buy a new tire like it's nothing. If I consider that with respect to rubber, and then I consider with respect to cocoa, with respect to the coffee that I drink, with respect to all of the parts of the cell phones that I have, of everything, I would not do anything. I wouldn't budge because I would be afraid of continuing to exploit people. I think there's a good point in saying enough. And if I'm making an effort to reduce my footprint, I think I can put an appropriate point and say, this is enough, because it's not going to make much difference if I don't drive too much. Because those families are still going to be there, and they're still going to have no other options except collecting rubber. So there has to be a point where I recognize that one person is not going to change anything, and that I can live my life without constantly being racked by doubt and concern about how many people and animals I'm exploiting. And I think that for me, at this point, I am at my limit that I'm prepared to deal with right now. Maybe at a later date, I might think, you know what, I can do a little bit more. But it definitely is not going to go all the way to veganism. Anyway, I've talked too much. I don't know if any of this was interesting to listen to or not. But yeah, like, share, subscribe. I forgot to mention any of that at the beginning of the video. Dislike, share, subscribe, all of that good stuff. And yeah, with your feedback, hopefully you keep in mind what you would like for yourself if this were your content. Peace.